we can't take anything for granted. We can't take that a play is going to go well for granted. We can't take a victory especially for granted. And that's what's awesome, guys. You have the moments today that we can't take for granted, that are freely given but aren't cheap.
It wasn't easy for Father Andrew Strobel to become a saint.
I didn't decide to come here. I'm a little different than a teacher who comes here. I'm assigned by the Archbishop to be the chaplain. So when I was one-on-one with him, he handed me my assignment letter. I saw the church on there and I thought, okay, that's a big one. And then I saw and St. Thomas Aquinas High School. I asked the Archbishop if it was a joke because going to Miege, that doesn't mix.
Strobel's calling resembles that of many teachers and coaches at St. Thomas Aquinas.
It was a really hard decision.
I was at Miege for 12 years.
I had friends of mine who were teaching and coaching in Miege and said, how could I?
I thought, my goodness, going to Aquinas, I don't think I can do it.
I think the implication is, I think in Catholic schools, you're probably not choosing it for a financial reason or anything in the first place. You're choosing it, because you believe in what that institution does. And so I think it's a little bit more personal.
Opened in 1958, Bishop Miege was firmly established as the private Catholic school on the Kansas side. But 30 years later, Aquinas was built, and the Holy War was on.
They came from us, we came from Miege, so there's nobody who want to be more than that.
I suppose right in the beginning, when St. Thomas Aquinas was built, I would think there would have been some bad feelings, you might say, that, that they're going to take some of our kids that we thought were our kids.
I think initially it hurt us pretty good, like any other new school. Like St. James coming into the picture now has hurt both of us a little bit.
Sometimes rivalries are decided by county lines or district boundaries. But as private schools, the battle between Bishop Miege and St. Thomas Aquinas shakes family trees.
There's one thing when you're talking about different towns that don't like each other, but it's another thing when you're saying, well, the only reason our school exists is because of this common faith. And this is like a family who's getting after each other, and sometimes family rivalries can be a little more heated than other types.
In a sense, you're competing for the same kids. If you're Shawnee Mission East and Shawnee Mission South, you're drawn from different geographical areas. From Miege, there are feeder parishes that go into each one of those schools, but if there's a really good kid at St. Anne's, and St. Anne's is kind of right between Miege and us, I'm sure both of us would just love to have that kid.
The families I know that came out here, there was, I think, I don't want to use the word resentment, but there was some people feel like they were being abandoned. They were abandoning Miege. And, I always thought that was a little bit unfair, but that's what also fuels the rivalry.
Miege survived the Saints' arrival and continued to be a force on the metro sports scene. But over the years, Aquinas has become an equal, which only helps to heighten the holy war between the two premier private schools in Kansas.
I think I've seen every boys basketball game. Probably they played 50+ times. I think they both each won maybe about an even keel.
We were dry for quite a while, and then after that, we went on a tear in many sports.
And they've really did an outstanding job with their athletic programs there, and I think we've stayed at our level, which I think is an excellent level of athletics here.
Miege has done very well, since the split, and I think that also helps the rivalry. If you have one school that is just always winning and one school not winning, there's no rivalry.
It's never been one that's in any of the sports really that has been totally dominant. We're going to beat them certain years, they're going to beat us certain years.
Competition will always be fierce between the Stags and the Saints, but family and especially faith also unite two proud schools who strive to serve a higher calling.
Our faith is what unites us. That's why we exist. We wouldn't exist unless our families thought enough about our faith to make the sacrifices to come here. And that's the same true for Miege.
It's always a great atmosphere, but when it really comes down to it, the religious factor is much more important to both of the schools, and whether whoever wins or loses. I think we're both putting out a product of a student that we feel very proud of, and that's kind of our goal together.
It's a Sunday after church bragging rights, and it makes for a great, intense, and wholesome rivalry.